So a University of Nebraska Omaha student was kicked out of her sorority for a provocative Tinder profile picture. Now, Shannon Workman was a member of Chi O, and she posted this to her Tinder. You're seeing here a picture of her with
provocative.
Jesus, my eyes.
Oh, what is going on here? I thought this was a family show.
And so apparently Chi Omega, the sorority that she was in, has a human dignity rule stating that sisters would not post photos wearing their letters on any platform that would bring disrespect to the chapter. Now, the sorority called the photo provocative and risque and claimed that Shannon was being disrespectful, combative, and having a bad attitude for disagreeing with them that this photo was provocative. They also claimed that she was just trying to use the letters to hook up. And she was kicked out of the organization. Now, after she was kicked out, she took to Facebook to explain kind of the situation, some of the aftermath, and the decision came after some management shifts in the sorority. She wrote, "This sorority is not run by the active members, but instead by the advisors. They have a complete dictatorship over what the girls can wear, post, and say." And so before we kind of get into whether or not this photo should have resulted in her getting kicked out of the sorority, which I think we're all going to agree on, I want to talk about the whole thing with the advisors a little bit. So I was in a sorority and we had these advisors, which is basically a nice term for middle-aged women who used to be in the sorority, who now want to exert some sort of power and relive their college days, right? And so they would come in and they would come to every meeting and they would have like super strict rules about what you could wear to our meetings, right? I came in like sweatpants and Uggs because it was a Sunday night. I've been doing homework all day, and they would get on my case for not being, they said, you should wear what you wear to Sunday church. Like, it's just stupid, ridiculous things, and they'd go after you, what you wore to formals and parties and whatever, and they're just like trying to exert some weird power over college kids. And it's bizarre, and this clearly played out in the case of Shannon's situation, and it's just like, it needs to go away. Like, sororities should be for college students, and then once you're out of college, like, you're not in a sorority anymore. Like, calm it down.
So they said it was the picture was risk. Is that the risk?
Yes, this picture, yeah, it was disrespecting her letters.
They gave her that shirt. Like, that was the shirt that, like, so for one thing, right, the picture, well, no, it's not risk at all, right? So
we're going to show this smut again.
Unbelievable, right? But the second thing about this is their quote, right? Another quote that was that they gave in terms of their reasoning, and it's exactly the type of quote that you'd expect someone from like an exclusive club or society. They were like, "Chi Omega process offers a series of checks and balances to ensure any sanctions imposed are reasonable and fair." Fuck off. That's why I say that. Like, fuck off. It's ridiculous. And now I have my own theory. I wasn't in a fraternity, right? I wasn't in a college that stood by that. We had organizations. I was on the soccer team. We were viewed as our own exclusive club with our accents, all cool and all that, right? But either way, I never understood it. We don't have it in the UK. We don't have Greek life. We don't have any of that stuff, right? We actually believe in including everyone, right? But I understand. I actually understand there is some benefits to be involved in a fraternity. There's a bunch of frat bros in our office. I think Steve O was one of them. And there is benefits to it, a lot of good connections and all that. But I can't help but think and pose a question: does the negatives of a frat or a sorority overthrow those? Because the amount of times we'll see of the behavior that goes on in them and the kind of inclusive environment. Because for what I experienced, is it's based on aesthetics first off. Like, it's how, are you fitting for this sorority? Like, have you got the appearance that's right for this? And then it poses the next question as to, do you fit in with our regulations?
Yeah. So I agree with you that sororities have that vibe. So I went to an all-girls school for high school, so I joined a sorority. I was like, oh yeah, like I'll have that like sisterhood again, because that's what sororities are all about. No. It's about, like, look, they're bullshitting here, because it is about hooking up and going to parties and all that crazy stuff that they get the rep for. And that was something that I wasn't into. Like, I love my little and I love my big, but everybody else, but the thing is, with the rules here that they're talking about, with the letters, there are rules, and these aren't put necessarily by like the sororities themselves. They're put on by the national like Pan-Hellenic organization. So there's rules about like drinking in your letters and doing things that are, provocative in your letters and things like that. So that's why they have these laws in place, but our rules in place. But this picture, obviously, I don't think is subjected to that, or should be subjected to that.
So here's my ruling on all this. So I'm not a frat guy. I remember a couple of my friends were pledging, and one of them had their the guy that was hazing them or whatever say, "Get down on your knees and tie my shoelaces." I was like, "Yeah, I'm out." Okay, I'm glad I didn't pledge. I'm under no circumstances would I do that, right? But to be fair to them, they had a great time. They enjoyed it. They had great parties and they had great camaraderie. There's something positive about that, right? Sometimes it gets a little cultish. And then there's the guys who come and relive their frat days or their sorority days, the woman who you alluded to. And in some ways, like, hey, God bless you, man. Okay, I know those were the glory days. And you want to, sometimes they want to help the kids. Although the guys who keep coming back to when they're like 48 and they're hanging out with the 19-year-old boys, it's natural to ask a couple of questions, right? But no, I think most of them mean really well, and so I feel bad, judging them. But in this particular case, what it is that they're imposing old rules on a completely different generation. So the reason they were really pissed is not because of how she looked, but because she put it on Tinder, and so they didn't have Tinder back in the day. So those gramps are like, we didn't have Tinder. Tinder's just for hooking up. In the old days, we'd hook up the old-fashioned way, get drunk, and then go to a frat house. Right? Hey, Grandma, I love you, and I know you mean well, but let's move on with our lives. Yeah. And the whole idea of doing something disreputable in your frat letters or your sorority letters. Who are we kidding? 98% of the point of the fraternity and sorority is to do something disreputable.